It's interesting when a pastor argues that Lucifer was the first to sin when they're teaching people that God is all-knowing, all-powerful, and the source of all creations. Because if God created Lucifer with full awareness of every outcome before it occurred, then the capacity to rebel did not originate in Lucifer. It originated in the mind that designed him. Which brings up our next point, because a creation cannot express a trait the creator did not build into the blueprint. So the real question is not who sinned first. The real question is who authored the conditions that made sin possible. I gotta say, it's pretty impressive how you argued your way right back into my point. You know they say pastors who don't listen train congregations who don't think. If Satan predates Adam and Eve, that means the capacity to sin predates humanity, meaning it was built into the creation. But let me give you perspective. The entire structure stands on the idea that you must be saved from something. Yet, if Lucifer is the first sinner, then Lucifer authored the world, meaning we are all creations of the fallen one. And if that's the case, the system has people worshiping the wrong creator while blaming the right one for existing. But we know that's not what happened. When all of these authors wrote this story, they didn't account for the fact that placing a flaw in the creation would trace it right back to the creator. And instead of teaching their people about polarity, they invented a separate figure to absorb all the blame to keep the architecture untouched. And by not recognizing polarity, they wrote a story where the architect designs the fall and then sends down a chosen representative to be crucified and later prays for suffering for the very people that you've convinced to blame the devil as if the architect subcontracted the flaw. So yes, your system's God was the first sinner, so watch what you teach. And since we're operating within the system's own logic, can we please stop telling humanity they are going to owe an eternal debt for something that your story claims was already cleared? That, my friend, is double jeopardy.
And might I add to this young man's beautiful soliloquy here, that many Christians are going to come back into this, their rebuttal to this is going to be that, well, God did not create evil, God did not create sin, but it is, as it says in Isaiah, your God is the author of sin. He created all the calamity. But then how can something outside of God exist if God is the creator of all things? He had to have created the concept of sin, the ability to sin had to be created within him first as the creator of all things. Now, the other thing that people are going to say is that, well, you had free will, the Satan or the devil, which is not the same, but let's just for now agree to your terms. But that the devil character had the opportunity and to choose God or not to choose God, but it was his free will of desiring to be above God that allowed for him to rebel against this God and thereby committing the first sin. But in order for this Satan or devil to have free will, then free will had to be something that was created. And in order for that free will to choose something that would be a sin, this had to be created as well. And the author of this creation is your God. The same can be said with your Adam and Eve story, because many are going to reference that they were given the choice to be obedient or not obedient. But if they are having free will and that God engineered the free will, then to be disobedient was first created by this God. So this God created the opportunity or situation for sin to occur. And it is a sin that he himself originally created when he said he created the evil, the calamities. So there is no way around the fact that sin exists in this world if you're a believer, because this God created it. Without his creative notion to make sin, then there would be no sin. And many would say, oh, well, this God just wants you to choose him so that he knows who are the ones that love him. Yet he says that he created some for destruction and to cause destruction, and created those who will be obedient. So there is no free will in that argument, because then he created those who he already knew would be destroyed. He took away Pharaoh's free will. So we know he has the ability to take away free will. Many of you have not read your Bible, but when you do and you go back and you read the story of Exodus, you will find that in Exodus, before Moses ever comes to Egypt, comes back to Egypt, before Moses ever comes back to Egypt, this God says that I will harden Pharaoh's heart. And then when he first had his first encounter between Moses, Aaron, and the Pharaoh, the Bible clearly says that this God hardened Pharaoh's heart. And on the next occasion, this God says that he will harden Pharaoh's heart before the next plague. It is not until after the, I believe, second or third plague that Pharaoh hardens his own heart. So God is the one who hardened Pharaoh's heart 3 times before Pharaoh had a chance for his own free will. But by the time this has happened, tragedy supposedly had already happened in all of Egypt. So a man's heart would be hardened when all these tragedies are going. But that first hardening, the second hardening, and the third were all done by your God. So he takes away free will. He has the ability to take away free will. So since this God has the ability to take away free will, and when you read Revelations, according to the story, if your name is found in the book of life, then you will enter upon this new heaven, and you will be on bended knee before the throne of God, praising him for all eternity. Do you have a choice? When you get into this heaven, do you have a choice whether or not to praise this God or not? According to Revelations, you do not have a choice. That once you enter into those gates, that is all that you will do. Although the tree of life is producing fruit, 12 producing fruit, 12 different kinds of fruit every month, you are still just worshiping this God. Can I decide once I'm in heaven that I don't want to worship this God? Can I decide once I am in heaven that I have friends and family members who are suffering in this lake of fire and this God is unforgiving of them? Can I change my mind and not worship that God? Or have I become so filled with God that I would desire nothing else but to worship that God? And if a God takes away my ability to desire whatever I choose to desire, then he has taken away my free will. So if God's plan was to already know who he's going to destroy and who he's not going to destroy, if God's plan was to have man in this situation where all they do is worship him around his throne, what was the purpose? You see, you get now the purpose of existence for Christian goes away because now life serves no purpose. There are those who are predestined, those who are not. And if that's the case, which your Bible clearly states, what is the purpose of worshiping this God? What is the purpose of life? Because at the end, you don't have free will. You don't have a choice. Because this God engineered the good, he engineered the bad. All on a polarity scale, as the young man said. But what do you guys think? And always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.